News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Brought to you by Elephant in the Room Pet Therapy. Emotional health experts agree that having a pet in your life can be beneficial. And naturally, the bigger the problems you have, the bigger the pet you will need. So if you're feeling emotionally fragile, consider bringing an elephant into your home. Elephant in the Room Pet Therapy, the big solution to your big problems.
Allan, I got one on the way to your place. Never fear. Calm down, my friend. Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
And I'm Allan Gilbreth with GeekySideTV.com. And I'm putting in a whole new roaster today.
Oh, come on, Allan. Okay, yeah, thanks again to Kelly Cruz. She outdid herself on that one.
Wow.
I really love it. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989 or join us on the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Make sure you give us a like and join the action over there. Hey, Allan, there's a hurricane on the way. You know, it's not all fun and games. It's
it's all fun and games till Ida shows up.
Yeah. Right. So, and, we're, of course, praying for our friends down south, but, further south than us. But there's ramifications here for the Mid-South as well. Mm-hmm, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to, I've already posted the must-have item of the week, and we're going to definitely get to that. Allan, check this out. The thrill of the mini dozer and the mini backhoe. We've been there. We're going to share the joy of working with what do you call these things? Miniature landscaping.
I have to say, micro real power tool. Real power tools.
Absolutely. You got a couple segments. I think these are just going to become new installments on the show, Allan. We're going to call these Allan's Backyard. Your backyard could be its own radio show, honestly. So mostly that's going to talk about our gardening and our water features, landscaping.
And,
you've got updates.
Having lunch in the backyard,
Yeah, you've got updates and cautionary tales involving blueberries.
Oh, yeah.
Maximilian wants to bring us, we got our buddy Maximilian behind the glass. He's got a new segment he's come up with called Deep Cuts. He's just going to bring us fun facts that probably most people would not know. He's got one today that I didn't know.
He's going to play. Translation, he's going to try to play Stump Allan.
Absolutely,
right?
Involving Japanese wood. We got a lot of good stuff, and like I said, we would love to take your phone calls at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. So it's all coming at you today on Tool Talk Radio. But before we get to any of that,
and now Tool Talk Radio's weekly salute.
To quote the great Albus Dumbledore, if you want to see the true measure of a man, watch how he treats his inferiors, not his equals. Good words there. To quote the actress Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio, as a measure of a person's acting skills, film can be very deceptive. Amen. Yeah. And to quote my co-host Allan Gilbreth, in training my adopted Botswanian striped hyena, I measure my success in teaching it to appear on cue. For example, having him spring out from behind the door at the exact moment after the pizza delivery driver hands me my pizza, but before the moment when I was supposed to hand over the $20. I mean, that's pinpoint timing, Allan.
Well, you got to learn how to give that hand signal just right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes, throughout the course of our daily lives, we have to measure a great many things. Physical units that measure distances, such as the cubit, the inch, or the decimeter, have been invaluable for construction projects. But oftentimes, marking those distances with speed and precision was not always easy. In the year 1829, however, a new measuring device was introduced to the world that offered not only speed and precision, but also portability. My friends, we give you the tape measure. Allan, my gosh, can you get any more basic?
World.
Yeah.
You can't even imagine.
I mean, let's face it. The tape measure. How did we live without it?
We tied knots in string.
Okay, talk to me, because I got my notes here, Allan. I'm looking at 1829 as the time. Well, that was sort of the beginning part. But yeah, what did they actually do, man?
Well, Well, of course, in the imperial system, we have the foot, the inch. What was the foot? Well, it was literally a foot. You put your foot down there, and that was how big
hardly precise.
Well, everybody's got a different size foot.
Right.
Thank goodness the king was Bigfoot at the time because, he had a 12-inch foot.
Yeah. Well, so let's give credit where credit's due. So in 1829, James Chesterton, he filed a patent, and he made a tape measure out of hoop skirts. Apparently, these poor women in those days, man, they had those big poofy skirts, and there was enough metal in there to probably,
They were wearing a satellite dish. Seriously. These things were horrifyingly amazing.
Well, he got his hands on some of this, and he said, if you put markings on here and roll it up, you got yourself kind of a pretty nifty little measuring device. But it wasn't until later, in about 1868, when they started to make a spring action involved in there. So, because, it's great to have it coiled up, but then you got to roll it by hand. It was sort of a hassle. But the spring action was the big selling point, and once that happened, pretty much everybody wanted a tape measure. So
it beat tying little tiny knots in that rope, and you hoped you got them right. And they were never exactly the same, and it was great to have a little standardization.
Yeah, absolutely. But James Chesterton, what an invention! Way to go!
Thinking outside the dress. There you go.
Okay, I don't. Thanks for that. I don't know how to make a segue out of that. That's family friendly, Alan. So, but we're gonna take a quick break, and Alan, when we come back, we're gonna visit Alan's backyard. You're listening to News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allen.
I've been going door to door looking for fire hazards. Mind if I give your place a little inspection?
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV, and our pal Maximilian behind the glass, who's throwing me a curve with this Fire Marshal Bill reference.
Well, I don't know who was following me around at work. Oh, my gosh.
Well played, sir. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And please do, we do get messages during the show, Alan, but
send
not
us
enough.
a text. Send us a text.
Send us something. We'd like to hear from you. And it even if it's, insulting, we can filter it out, I guess, if it's, or critiques on how we can improve.
We love pictures. We love pictures of your triumphs and your tribulations.
Or if you're a dissatisfied customer that bought yourself an elephant and now it's not bringing the emotional health that you had hoped for. So, you know who does bring emotional health, Alan? Whitekurt Realtors Benchmark. Quick, easy, and fun. That's their whole motto. And honestly, they do live up to that. If you need to buy a home or sell a home, talk to our buddies at Whitekurt Realtors Benchmark. Really, it's low stress. They can do it all, which is one of the big things for me, because it's that experience, Alan. You're going to buy a home. Well, okay, everything's cool with the realtor, but now the bank's giving me grief, or now the inspector over here is doing such and such. Well, it's all under one roof. You're not running around all over town. And that way there's communication among themselves. They save you a lot of trouble, and they've been through it all. They know every market. These guys, they know their stuff.
I just like the fact that they have child-friendly distractions in their office.
Yeah, you bring your kids. They'll go play. They'll go play foosball, basketball, or pool.
Let the kids go play the ball game, and you can sit over here and get your work done.
Honestly, one of the other spouse could be cooking dinner in their beautiful kitchen, and meanwhile you're closing on the house. It really works all the way around. And of course they got Kelly Cruz, and they've got Brandy over there, she's the top salesperson in the entire country.
They have an amazing staff.
And
truly amazing people.
And of course, Rick and Susie Bowman are awesome too. So get in touch with them. They have a nice, easy to remember phone number, Alan, 901-202-2000. And Alan, I might be reporting in. Brandy, we had her on the show a couple weeks ago with our buddy Rick Bowman. She's working on a top secret project for me that if it happens, it ain't gonna be top secret anymore. It'll be some good material for our show.
Hey, so. Excellent.
All right, Alan, speaking of good material for the show, you and I have talked about this, and it's, people, if you want a little peek behind the curtain, Alan and I have this text thread that we do, and when it gets close to show prep, we exchange notes, and more often than not, your backyard just keeps coming up in the discussion. Or you post pictures on your Facebook page. You're pretty good about posting, and the thing is, you're like, oh, the hydrangeas are suddenly blooming, or oh, the koi pond is now whatever, and I'm like, it's a different post every week, and I'm like, what the heck is back there?
Well,
everything is
the
back
bullfrog at Mr. Crocom's actually has fans. People actually like, where's the frog, man? Mr. Crocom's.
Well, Alan, you were talking about a cautionary tale involving blueberry bushes and blackberry bushes, and it kind of led to a wider theme. So let's talk about that. I think there's some interesting material here.
Going through the big box store, every year they've got all the little bushes and shrubs, and you walk up there, and there's a pretty good selection at any big box store, and then you get to the nurseries and you have even greater selection and a wider variety of plants.
Yeah, it's a whole wing of the store.
But okay, here's kind of the deal. When you look at those cute little containers, they're about a quart in size, and the plant and all the things like what, $15, $19.
Right.
They're not terribly expensive, but they're kind of small.
They're
kind of
nice.
Cute.
Yeah.
And people don't really pay attention to the warning label that's on the box. And, much like our pet of the week.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you and I run into this all the time. We go to a property, we're looking at it, and I mean, this to me happens every single time I walk up to a commercial property.
Yeah.
Whoever planted the commercial property planted it for the effect right then.
Well, and put a pin in that, Alan, because I wanted to bring that. That's the bigger theme I wanted to bring in. But let's talk about the blueberry bushes and the blackberry, because here
are these cute little $12.98 blueberries that you picked up at the big box store. Because hey, blueberries are a superfood. They're antioxidant. They're tasty.
They're great. Yeah.
They, I will tell you from personal experience, they're good on ice cream. They make fabulous wine. They make great jams and jellies. That it's a great thing to have growing.
Side note, people, this is a true story. Alan brought over a couple of bottles of wine to our house, and you gave my son Jeremy a bottle of blueberry wine.
Indeed.
Him and his friends said it was delicious. So.
Excellent.
And crabapple wine.
Yes.
So Alan wastes nothing.
Oh, no.
Alan can turn anything into booze.
You got to have
the
talent.
Avocado wine showing up.
Oh, so. It takes a while to get those to work. But
anyway.
So, so many, many years ago, I bought several blueberry bushes, and I had a fence line where when I purchased my house, the people that lived there before me had a couple of really big dogs.
Okay.
And they had basically cleared all of the grass from 4 feet to the fence.
Oh, running back and forth.
Yeah, running back and forth. So I had
like the outfield of a baseball
Exactly.
Park.
I had zero work to do to put in gardens.
Oh.
I mean, seriously, because it was already dirt.
So instead of hiring a landscaper, you just get a few dogs to run around and tear up the
a couple
yard.
of good German shepherds,
That'll
and they can plow that grass right up.
Okay.
So I went in and I planted them the appropriate about 10, 15 feet apart.
Okay.
And let's go through time because, year 2 or 3, they had grown up to be some kind of cute bushes, and they flower, they smell good, they look good, and they have blueberries.
Right.
Well, I had a few medical issues the last 3 or 4 years that have since been rectified, but it meant that I really didn't get out there and do much with them for a few years.
Yeah.
And let's just say this year they got a haircut. I had to cut 12 feet off of the blueberries.
Wait, the height?
I had to cut them down from 15 foot down to 3 foot.
Okay, Alan, I'm not somebody that works in the garden. I really am pretty clueless about that stuff. I do know what poison ivy is because I experience it a lot. But Alan, blueberries will be growing at that height, so you got to get up. If you're doing that, don't you got to harvest them and pick them from 15 feet up in the air? Which is not an easy thing.
We were up there on a ladder. Oh yeah,
and
we had the pull downs and everything.
But even if you've got a big ladder, it's not the safest thing to be leaning a ladder against a tree. It's not good for the tree. If you have an A-frame ladder, you're going to lean over and tip it over. So none of it sounds good to me.
All right. Well, so the trick is the cautionary tale is read the instructions and understand what the mature plant is going to look like.
Don't do an impulse buy because you want to teach your kids gardening. And
well, you do an impulse buy if you want, but don't plant them 3 feet apart because in 5 years it's going to be this, thicket from a fairy tale story. So yeah, I had to get out there this year and trim everything off, and now it's all shooting back up. And what I'll do is I'll shape it all back into bushes.
Right.
And it will be a normal 5 to 6 foot tall when I'm done, so that next year when the berries come around, we won't be out there, 12 feet in the air trying to get blueberries.
So when you cut those off, you lose all that. Do you pick the blueberries and then cut them off?
Well, I waited until after the season, and I got them trimmed off now so that they'll shoot back up. Okay. So that I will still get berries and flowers and everything next year.
Okay, it's funny because that was my next question, Alan. Because like I said, I'm not a person that knows much about the yard, but I do know in our backyard we have a fig tree. Yes. Well, we had 2. One of them died, Alan. Right. Sorry. May they rest in peace.
So how the figs looking on the other tree?
Well, not bad. And we also have a couple of pecan trees, which are the bane of my existence. But the question is, I don't really know. I know when they get really big, and there's a point where if you're going to pick them, you better pick them now.
Right.
Do you trim immediately after you've picked them, or do you wait a little bit, or
That entirely depends on what we're talking about. Okay. If you've got stuff like blueberries or blackberries, you need to trim them when it's appropriate. AKA, they're done fruiting, but they haven't set the flowers for next year. Okay. So every plant is a little different. So the other thing I want to point out is don't be afraid, to kind of trim stuff up and keep it within bounds. Right. Don't be afraid of that. And 2, don't plant stuff right next to the house.
Well, good segue, Alan, because we were about to get to that. It's funny you mentioned that. We've got even bigger cautionary tales about that, but I want to set that up properly in the next segment.
Okay.
But the other thing with these trees though is it really, I think there's a tendency to maybe it's just we've heard from too many tree huggers in our society. There's this thing of if you cut off a branch, it's going to hurt the plant or something.
No.
So it basically, the way my wife explained it to me is if you get rid of a lot of this extraneous stuff, those are taking nutrients away that you could be giving to it. They don't have to spread the nutrients around as quick or as far. So
we'll dive a little deeper into that when we come back.
Okay, we're going to dive a little deeper into that, and then of course we're going to get into a bigger cautionary tale. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
How tough am I? How tough am I? I had a bowl of nails for breakfast this morning.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Give us a like. Send us messages. Interact with us that way. And if you're impatient and you can't wait to hear about our must-have item of the week, just go over there right now and you'll see. I post it. If you want those spoilers, we got them for you. So, Allan, before the break, we were talking about one of my favorite books, The Devil in the White City, basically because of their approach they had to landscape architecture. And we were discussing, don't plant your trees 2 feet from the house.
No,
Think about how these things are going to look in 30 or 40 years or something. Well, Allan, and we're all about solutions here on Tool Talk. We don't want to just whine about things. So I had what I thought was a pretty brilliant idea, and you said, other people have thought of this, but let's just bring it up because, like I said, I'm not a landscaper. This is not my thing. But my thought was, Allan, so let's suppose you've got these bushes that maybe they take 10 years to get to, or bushes or trees that take 10 years to really start looking like something. Well, maybe you're somebody that just built a house and you want something to look at right now.
Right.
Well, could you maybe there's some plants that are less, let's just say less permanent. Maybe they bloom really fast, and maybe these things will shoot up to 7 or 8 feet, quickly. Well, maybe you plant those with an eye towards, okay, at some point I'm actually going to remove these once these other plants take shape or something. So maybe it's more of a mobile process where these things are moved or cut down or whatever, and it's not necessarily permanent. So
okay, a lot of people get intimidated. So they're looking at the front yard, they're looking for some curb appeal.
Okay.
And that's where they really get intimidated. And it's like, all right, well, nothing has to be permanent. Let's start there.
Right.
2, you can put down some form of edging to define your garden area, whether it's landscape timbers or stones or whatever. But, you got a nice little edge now. You can do it in bricks if you want to.
Okay.
But you got a nice little edge. So now you've clearly defined the area you want to plant. Now, the area, the size that you want versus the effect that you want chooses the plants that you want.
Okay.
So there are a lot of great annual selections.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, a lot of people actually do a spring planting. And when everything gets all tired and beat up in the middle of summer, they have all that pulled up and they put in their fall planting.
Right.
So you can have bright color. You can have brilliant looking plants. You can have the heights that you want. Plant the lower stuff towards the street, the taller stuff behind it. If you're looking for those permanent fixtures, figure out what the adult height and requirement is of the plant. Plant it appropriately the first time.
Yeah.
And then while it's still kind of young and puny, you can always fill in around it with annuals and plants that aren't going to do you in.
Right. No, okay. So it's I guess it sounds to me, Allan, like the basic approach here is that in the beginning stages of landscaping, it's a little bit more work. You're not just planting stuff and walking away from it. If you want some wow factor, it's going to take a little finesse at the beginning.
Okay. Well, the more work you put into it, let me flip side to my backyard again. The more work you put in putting it in.
Right.
The proper edging, the proper soil. Did you amend the soil properly? Did you make it match what you're planting? Because again, we'll pick on my poor little blueberries again. Blueberries like acidic soil. Now, if you've got soil that is naturally a little high in acid, aka the woodlands, where you have a lot of decaying materials, these things are going to grow like weeds. If you have a new house that's an old scrape and turf, you may not have very good soil.
Right.
Really easy. Just look at the thing and you're like, well, how do I make my soil acidic? I don't want to be out here with acid or no, guys. Peat moss, just some peat moss. Dig a big hole, put the peat moss in it, put the plant in it with the peat moss. And you know what? You've achieved your goal. Okay. So it's a lot simpler than people have a tendency to make it.
Well, yeah, I guess to wrap up, Allan, because it sounds like it sounds very similar to painting or my carpentry work. A lot of that
all
stuff,
in the prep.
The prep work. I mean, painting is the easiest part of the job.
Yes.
The rest of it is like you got to do the cleaning, you got to do the caulking, the scraping, all of the prep stuff. And if you don't, your results are not going to be good. And the same with carpentry. Like if I'm building something, it's all in the layout and the math. I hate to say it, doing all the calculations. But if you get it right, then the building part of it's easy. So,
and again, really honestly, there's nothing about this that is actually permanent.
Right.
So if you don't like it, if you don't like it, it can always come out and you can do it again a different way.
Absolutely. So I think, Allan, let's keep this going. Let's make this a regular feature. Allan's backyard, because I mean, my gosh, there's enough material there for its own radio show.
Yeah, we haven't made it down one fence yet.
Yeah, but we're going to turn the corner. In a minute, you've got a really good story for us. We're going high tech. This is going to be a totally different direction. But before we go that direction, speaking of high tech, Allan, I want to just tell you about our buddy Mike Serafolian, who runs Tri-State Interiors. Now, this is interesting. So They remodel kitchens, and they're big. What's great about them is it's fine craftsmanship, but he specifically keeps his overhead very low.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a lot of flashy, he doesn't.
He's not got a big giant warehouse showroom someplace.
Right. Well, he does have a warehouse. What I like about this is they have, so basically before they even start the job, they order everything.
Right.
Because they have access to the same cabinets and the same countertops and tile that all these other, bigger companies have. But by getting it all in place at the beginning, you're not running into a situation where once the plumber is done, it's like, well, we're going to have to wait 3 weeks while your such and such comes in.
Oh, yeah,
everything's there.
Yeah.
And so it makes the process much quicker. And also what I love is they've got, in terms of high tech, they can create a 3D rendering of your kitchen, which is cool. Like, he sent me a few of these, and they look great. So basically, imagine a virtual tour of what your kitchen is going to look like, and you can just stick it on your computer or your phone or your Roku TV or something, and it really helps you envision it, and it makes the process a little more comfortable because you're like, okay, I see where this is going. I can see where the end game is.
Well, and another thing I'll tell people to do, once you get that printout, that computer that gives you that great visualization, break out a little masking tape and go tape it off.
Yeah. Well,
look at it on your floor and go, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be great if?
Yeah. Or
your bathroom.
Right.
So being able to use technology for you instead of against you is a huge perk.
Well, and what's cool about this is you download it onto your smart device, and you can go run over to your friend's house, and or if you're at Starbucks, you say, and you do the little. What's fun is when you do that little rotation thing, kind of like those Google Maps when you're looking, and you see exactly what you're going to see when you're standing over at the counter or when you're standing by the refrigerator. So definitely get in touch with them. They do great work. Tri-State Interiors, and they have a big service area. If you're listening to us, way out in Arkansas or near Jackson, and you're wondering if they service your area, yes, they do. If you can hear us, you're in the service ring. So get in touch with Tri-State Interiors. Call Mike Sarafolian at 901-409-1333 or go to their website, tristateinteriorsllc.com. All right, Allan, we always like to go high tech. We always like to be on the cutting edge of technology and where it's going to actually translate into home improvement. And you said, oh boy, do I got a story for you about high tech. I do. It involves a duck.
It does.
I'm like, okay, sir, you're going to have to explain that one to me.
All right, let's I'm going to I'll start over here.
Yeah.
I was watching Nat Geo Wild.
Sure.
And they brought up Waddles the Duck.
Okay.
and who is Waddles the Duck? Waddles the Duck is a little mallard duck that hatched with a deformed foot.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Now, talk about a job that could only exist in the modern world.
Right.
He got introduced to a guy named Derek Campana, a certified pet prosthethicist.
Is that the way you say that word?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a prosthethicist, a.k.a. he made the duck a little 3D printed prosthetic ducky foot.
Is this is it permanent or is it just like
it's a little pop on because he's still got his little leg down there. It just doesn't work.
Okay.
But they popped the little foot on to bridge the distance, and now Waddles the little duck can get up and run around and act like a little duck.
Okay. Well, good for him. So.
It's a heartwarming and wonderful story. The duck is adorably cute. However, it struck me what was about to happen with 3D printing.
Right. That's the bigger implications on this. It's like, okay, because 3D printing is sort of the go-to thing now. Like we said, Allan, not to cut, they make when I watch Jay Leno's Garage and he's working on a 1920 some odd whatever, and they need a distributor cap, they just 3D print everything.
Right.
Now. Right. So
think about where we can go next.
Right. I mean, so that's kind of that's sort of the
that's our tease for the next segment.
Right. But Waddles the Duck is
he's a wonderful recipient of a great idea, but just think of the ramifications now looking around your home, and especially if like you and I that love antique tools.
Well, absolutely. Only here on Tool Talk Radio can you go from a duck prosthesis or whatever the heck that's called to the implications of home improvement. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allen.
And welcome to Hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989, and or go to the Facebook page. Give us a like, interact with us that way, send us messages. We'll probably answer in real time. Do you get those notifications, Allan?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and also if you just woke up and if you've missed some of Tool Talk Radio today, never fear. You can always catch any of our past episodes if you go to tooltalkradio.com. Allan's pretty good. Not always as punctual as we'd like, but he will get the shows up there.
There are occasionally technical difficulties.
Right.
So, yeah.
And also, I guess we can announce this, Allan. Stand by, because very soon we are launching our own SoundCloud page, which is going to have unique archives in there, and it'll give you access to programs that might surprise you and fun content that is that we're excited about sharing with you. So it's going to be very cool. Hey, Allan, before we continue our discussion about Waddles the Duck, speaking of unique content to share with people, what's new with Geeky Side TV this week?
Well, Geeky Side TV this week, we have the new Scott J. Carroll story time.
Okay.
And let's just say about his latest installment, if you've ever worked in retail and had that customer, this is that experience. These are hilarious. I mean, absolutely will damage your internal organs funny of little narratives of just things that have happened to him. And one of them is the episode I'm talking about is called The Troll Wig. And it is
I know what those look like.
Well,
yeah.
you know, it's just, especially this time of year, it's just plain funny.
Okay. And we need that. Let's face it.
Oh, you need a little madness in your life these days.
Okay, cool. All right. And so how do people get in on Geeky Side TV?
All they got to do is go to geekysidetv.com, or they can look up Geeky Side TV on their Roku, Fire Stick, or Apple TV.
I have to feel like most people these days have one of those things. I'll tell you, the Roku TV is one of the best inventions of the last, it's super
amazing.
Handy. Yeah, I mean, it's great. You just pull it up, you download it. I think when I downloaded it, Allan, it took like less than a minute.
Well, if you have a Roku-ready television, all you have to do is just go to that in the menu, and there are hundreds of free subscriptions available to you in the Roku network.
Absolutely.
So just pop down to Geeky Side, say subscribe. It'll put an icon on the menu for you. And now you can just pop over and watch any of the content on Geeky Side TV anytime you want on your Roku TV for free.
And if you're a content creator, get in touch with them, because you may be the next TV star.
You know, I might know a guy.
There you go. All right. Hey, Allan, so before the break, we were talking about Waddles the Duck, which to me was, it sounded odd that was the pretense of our high-tech section that we're going to do today. But basically, they 3D printed Waddles a new foot, a prosthetic foot, because Waddles had a deformity when he was born. Well, the bigger implications here are just how mainstream 3D printers are going to become. I like to think most people these days probably have a printer in their home. Well, pretty soon you may have a 3D printer, which is going to be a game changer. So,
well, as I sat down and I looked at this for a minute, and I went, and it was like a commercial came on, and it's kind of like, have you subscribed to such and such yet? And I went, what's going to happen?
Right.
5 years from now, you're going to subscribe to a 3D printing service, and almost any widget, contraption, or device that you can imagine is going to be a part of this service.
Well, and Allan, you're a kitchen guy. You're the chef. I was just thinking about it. You wake up in the morning, you're making your scrambled eggs, and you break your spatula.
Right.
Okay. Oh, honey, will you turn on the 3D printer and print me a new spatula? So you come home, by that time you come home from work, your 3D printed spatula is ready to go.
Yeah, spatula.
Instead of running to the store and buying
Yeah,
one.
your French spatula's just coughed up out of the machine.
Right.
So,
You go to, this subscription service is interesting out. So you might subscribe to a thing that would have technical diagrams, I would have to imagine, where it's like a catalog, right?
You have your $1 million idea. I have my $1 billion idea.
Talk to me.
Because, seriously, I mean, a subscription service, and just go click and say, all right, here's the parameters to print the handle to a 1898, Sears and Roebuck handsaw.
Right.
Well, there'd be the parameters. Somebody came through and set it up. Now all you got to do is print it.
Right.
And boop, pop a new handle on it, because you and I both love antique tools.
Sure.
And those parts aren't just lying around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is going to necessarily immediately replace, like, you're not going to, I'm not ready to 3D print all the lumber I need, Allan, to build a patio cover. I think it's a lot of extra work. However, there are those random, like, screws that have a unique threading. There's that unique part where it might be the kind of thing of, it's just easier to just turn the printer on and get it exactly the size you need, so.
Well, I mean, how far can this go? There is a company out there right now that tells you, between all of the different types of 3D printers they have, they can 3D print all of the components of a rocket.
Right.
In a day. I mean, how shocking that is almost the replicator from any number of sci-fi movies.
Well, it's a Star Trek, yeah. But it's funny because until it starts happening, there won't be this shift in perception. But it's like when we started carrying cell phones. Nobody imagined you could just have a portable phone, but now we can't imagine life without it. Anyway, I hope you can't imagine your life without Tool Talk Radio. If you can't, boy, you got some problems. But anyway, you're listening to us from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Maximilian has a Tool Talk Radio deep cut.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Gonna paint our wagon, gonna paint it good. We ain't bragging, we're gonna coat that wood.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Allan, you sing on the job, and it just makes the day go faster.
It does.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. Well done, Maximilian. I'm Joe Thorderson with Doors, Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV, and our buddy Maximilian behind the glass. I don't know where he finds this stuff, Allan.
I'm just kind of like, it's like every time we come back, it's like watching the laser pointer to see who's going to get shot next. It's like, all right, where's he aiming?
Yeah, good job, sir. And Max has a little story for us coming.
Yeah,
No, it's not a story. It's a new segment we're looking at.
I'm leaning around and staring at him in the fishbowl.
But before we get to that, speaking of somebody that's got some good content over there, well, I don't know if this is content. It's just useful, let's say. Speaking of a useful individual who's actually pretty entertaining in his own right.
Oh, yeah.
Jay Hill with Big M Roofing, Allan. Big M Roofing and Remodeling. We've dealt with Jay.
Many times.
Jay's
many
replaced
times.
the roof at my house. I'm not ashamed to say.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say.
You got a big sign in your front yard.
In fact, if you drive by my house, which I don't want you to do, but unknowingly is fine. But
you drive by your Joe's house a lot, whether you know it or not.
We have two signs, Allan, representing Jay Hills, because everybody's coming by asking us about our new roof. It looks great. Ours is a sort of a Cape Cod style house, so we have more roof than a lot of the houses in our neighborhood, and it's more prominent. So when it was beat up, it looked terrible. There was a lot of,
You had squirrel issues.
Right. But now that it's fixed, now that we've got a new roof, it's such a centerpiece, and it looks great. So, but what's great about Jay is, who can say this? He is a former insurance agent. He worked specifically with a lot of homeowners' claims, for replacement, not just roofs, but other damage. So he knows the whole game that way, but also he's a contractor now. So he's basically combined these two skills with, wait a minute, a lot of times your roof may qualify to be replaced by your homeowner's insurance. That's a huge expense that you save if you can, if you can find that information out. So you definitely want an expert in that field. So if you get in touch with Jay at Big M Roofing, he, for one thing, he's accredited with the Better Business Bureau. They got all sorts of 5-star reviews, good housekeeping. He's a GAF Master Elite Installer, And what's also great about that is a lot of those I think most of the GAF roofing systems come with a lifetime transferable warranty.
That's the kicker. The word transferable.
So if you sell the house, the next
warranty
owner
goes to that owner.
That's a huge selling point.
Yes.
I mean, think of that. So they do it all, and Jay's just a lot of fun anyway. And you're going to talk to him for 5 minutes, and you're going to find out that you all know like 7 or 8 of the same people because he knows everybody in Memphis.
He's like the 6 separations of Kevin Bacon.
Exactly. So get in touch with the good people at Big M Roofing at bigmroofingandremodeling.com, or you can call the office at 901-379-8184. Or I guess Jay doesn't mind if I give his number out. Or you can call Jay directly at 901-484-5645. Stand by, Jay. Anyway, hey, Allan. So I thought this was interesting. I was talking to Max Million when we were getting our show prep ready. And Max, he's a man who he delves into trivia. He likes a lot of random, information. So, Max, we're going to call this a deep cut, right? This is going to be something involving, I guess, home improvement or tools or something. But what do you got for us this week, sir?
So Allan and I were trying to do a little bit of a guessing game about he thought we were going to be talking about you wood. I gave him a little hint. It has to do with samurai.
Right.
But I wasn't about to give it away early, but now I am. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the biwa tree.
Ah.
You familiar with that now?
Okay, I do know about the biwa tree.
We should explain, too, Max, that you are actually pretty fluent in Japanese. That's one of your passions. You've studied Japanese since like junior high, and you love Japanese culture and the language and everything, right? So this is a Japanese tree?
Yes, a Japanese tree. So what's interesting about this particular tree is that it carries with itself blessings and curses. We'll get to the curses later because it's more fun. But the blessings, the blessings are pretty simple. They're associated with, they have medicinal properties to them. But the loquat, it grows on a biwa tree, and loquat is an edible fruit that's enjoyed in Japan. I'm sure Allan could tell you a lot about the loquat, but we don't got time for that because we got to get to the curses.
Allan likes a good loquat souffle, right, Allan? I mean, that's
it's a good tea.
Wait, let me make sure I understand.
It's a really nice tea. I'll give you that.
I just want to be sure I'm clear on something, Max. You're saying that the fruit that this tree produces is edible, probably delicious.
It's an evergreen.
It's edible, yes.
But other parts of the tree are actually poisonous?
Not poisonous. Let me explain that a little bit.
Okay.
The reason they consider it deadly or has a curse is because there's a legend that goes around that any weapon that's built with a biwa creates incurable injuries. And so this kind of goes back, the origins of this date back to the famous samurai Miyamoto Musashi, who himself favored the bokken in favored the biwa in the creation of his bokken, which are wooden samurai training swords. I'm sure Allan could talk to you all day about Musashi too, because he's a martial artist person as well.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. So, Allan, I'm just wondering how much of this, because this relates to food. It relates it relates to, I don't know, the weapons. I'm just wondering about these incurable injuries. They would get.
All right.
Is it because the wood is toxic or something?
Well, no. Basically, we can pick on, for something to give you a reference in the United States, you have like privet.
Yeah. Okay.
And privet is a very hard, very wet, but very flexible wood.
Yeah.
You can also get into furniture with like rattan.
Okay.
And these are very hard, fibrous. Rattan is actually like a relative of the bamboo.
Okay.
And let me tell you, you get whacked with something made out of rattan or like a privet branch or these good, really kind of weedy, strong, fibrous things. It really hurts.
That's exactly what the article that I was reading talked about, how the biwa bokkens are very pliable. So if a strike penetrates deep enough into the body, it could cause a complex fracture and have a bad impact on the bones.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this stuff was really hard to break. Today, we would use like a substance like polycarbonate, which would be very, very hard, but yet still very, very flexible.
Okay.
So think like a polycarbonate mallet. So we need to hammer something in, but we need to hammer it in softly.
Right, right.
Like wooden pegs or something like that. You and I use rubber hammers all the time.
Yeah.
This would have been the wood they used before we had rubber mallets.
Okay, because it's got to be able to handle an impact. Well, Max, I'm going to throw you a curveball, literally. So we know the Japanese are really big into baseball, like us Americans, and so
you gave him a baseball reference.
I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering if this wood would be good for making baseball bats. What do you think?
Well,
it's not big enough around.
That's
really?
The real question isn't whether or not it's like good for baseball because of the quality of the wood, but how about the quantity? These days, biwa wood is very heavily regulated, and so you can only really put out a certain amount of biwa products per year or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and it's more or less a big bush. It's more like privet.
Okay.
Not
so
like
it's
a
not
tree.
An oak tree.
Right.
Or
It's not an
hickory
oak
or
tree.
something like
Correct.
I don't know. I'd like to get my hands on it. You know what I like about this, Max, and I'm just going to throw you a little hint here. What I love about wood, Alan. You walk into a wood shop or something, and especially some of these. We used to have a shop out here called Colco Woods.
Yes.
Gosh, do I miss that place? It's been gone about 10 years or so. But you walk in there, they have exotic woods. It smells great in there, and every piece of wood kind of has its own story. It has its own personality. It came from maybe some different part of the world, and it's just interesting when you learn the history. Because I mean, how many woods can there be? There's so many. I mean, we generally stick to a few when it comes to building homes, but
there are hundreds as opposed to the 10 you're going to see at a big box store.
Absolutely. So thanks, Max. I appreciated that deep cut. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio here on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break and then bring you our must-have item of the week.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Just a few more seconds of mental preparation and I'll be painting this wall.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Geeky Side TV and our pal Max Million, who is just having way too much fun back there behind the
I just
glass.
looked in the mirror, and this smirk is priceless from over there. Because he's been following you right at work now, huh?
Yeah. You can, I guess we're rubbing off on him, Alan. I don't know. But anyway, you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Give us a like and give us a shout-out that way. And share your home improvement adventures and your stories. Alan, the thing is, everybody texts you during the show.
Oh, I get a ton of them.
So, I don't know. I guess some of those we should start sharing as well. So, we get these communications, but we want to talk to you as well. So, hey, before the break, we were talking about this. I thought we were going to move along, and then Max came in here with a few more little details about his deep cut with this Japanese tree. And so, Max, what do you got for us?
So I just kind of wanted to wrap up with a little bit of an anecdote about Musashi the Samurai I talked about with the Biwa Boken. There's a duel that I guess the circumstances are kind of funny. It as Allan said, yes, it's a murder because it's a duel, but at the same time, it's the way that he defeated this particular samurai that I just thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
it sounds hilarious.
So a samurai by the name of Sasaki Kojiiro challenged Musashi to a duel, and not only did Musashi defeat him with an oar or like a sword that he carved from an oar.
Yeah.
So he defeated him with a wooden sword, but he showed up late to the duel.
Well, that's just rude.
Because he overslept.
Yeah. And paddled the boat over and realized he didn't have his boken. So he reached over and slit both sides of the oar off, jumped out of the boat, ran at the man like a complete madman and just plowed him under, walked back over, got back in the boat, and paddled off with his stick. And that's...
Wait, so this was a scheduled duel?
Yeah, this was a official, real challenge and the whole thing.
Well, you guys probably know more about duel etiquette than I do, but where does that stand? It sounds like he broke a lot of rules, and then...
He didn't care.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, he won. But did he win honorably? It doesn't sound.
Well, he won.
Can he brag about it at the pub later on?
Well, let's put it this way: everybody on the other team just went, "Oh,
okay." Well, we're still talking about it today. So
Yeah,
he did
well,
something right.
but I'll tie this all back into home improvement with, guys, woodworking. It's more than what you think it is sometimes.
Oh, yeah. There's always a story. Every piece of wood tells a story. So we're gonna unpack those stories as the weeks unfold here on Tool Talk Radio.
And I get to point out and go, we were just talking about biwa bushes and loquat fruit, and I got to look over and I go, of all of the things in the world Max could have brought up, I've actually fed you loquat fruit.
Yeah, because you made this. Gosh, we're really beating this into the ground. But Allan, among other things, he lets nothing go to waste. You made some loquat fruit jelly that you shared with our family, and so I think my wife's even had some as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, enough of this, you guys. Enough of the shenanigans. Let's steer back. We've got our must-have item of the week, and if you've already visited Tool Talk Radio on Facebook, then you've already seen it. But Allan, tell people what I'm holding up here today.
A small metal box full of chalk.
Yeah, and string.
That is the infamous snap line.
Yeah. Do you notice how old this looks? This one
It's older than your children.
Yeah, this one, it probably is, actually. It probably is older than some of my kids. I've had it. It's one of the first things you get. So a chalk line is great, people. If you don't know what a chalk line is, imagine it's sort of a little... like, when you do Google Maps and they have that little indicator pointing to what it's shaped like that. There's a little handle, and then there's string, and then there's a little trap door that you can pour chalk into. You definitely have to have the chalk, or it defeats the whole point. Right. So what's great about this is the simplicity. I think we might even do a deep dive on the chalk line one day, because the history of the chalk line is interesting. It even relates to like blood.
It goes
Egyptians
way
and things
back.
like that.
Yeah.
So stand by. I'm sure we'll have one of those. But what's great about a chalk line, people, is the simplicity yet the accuracy. So I use this a lot, Allan, when I'm building I just used it this week, building a patio cover.
Mm-hmm.
I had rafters, and I'm screwing in the plywood to the top of the patio cover, and so I can see one end of the rafter and I can see the other end, but I can't see where the middle is. So basically, I take this chalk line and I stretch it the 16 feet across, and what happens is, people, the string on the chalk line is covered with chalk. So you pull it tight, and then you lift it up and snap it, and it snaps a line perfectly straight.
Yes.
Exactly where you need it. You got to pull it tight or it won't be straight. But man, what a simple idea. And then the chalk just washes away, or it just kind of brushes away when you're done. But then it shows you exactly where you got to put those screws, and it's useful for a lot of other things as well.
One of my favorite tricks was of building a deck using a lot of reclaimed lumber. Mm-hmm. And of course, none of it was all the same length. So off this one edge was this horrible jagged tooth wall of death that, everybody's looking at this like, I can't believe he's leaving that. I can't believe he's leaving that. Oh my gosh. The whole time we're doing it. And I whipped up the chalk line, walked down there and nailed it in on one end, drug it down to the other end, snapped it, broke out the, as I love to point out to Joe, my battery-powered portable saw.
Right.
And ran down the chalk line with it, and suddenly there was a beautiful, clean, perfectly straight edge down the edge of the deck, and, all of the horrible, gnarled and nailed and torn up edges of this wood was all gone.
Right.
And, it was a 1 minute operation.
Right. And it's one of these things, Allan, where I think about the stuff. Somebody had to come up with this, and I just wonder what they did before somebody came up with it, because there's a lot of solutions. What did they do before they had string? What did they do? I don't know. There's just so many things where this is as simple as it gets. This thing, probably I spent $10 on it when I first bought it. I can drop it off of ladders. I can do whatever. If the string breaks, I just get some new string.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
And yet, the precision that this tool gives you, it's just great. And the other thing I love about a chalk line is it's another one of these tools that is great to introduce to the kids. It's perfectly safe. They're not going to hurt themselves with it.
It's chalk.
Turn off the TV, turn off their phone, and go out in the driveway and make chalk designs and teach them about geometry and teach them about, they can snap lines everywhere.
I was about to say, I have seen some amazing sidewalk art, spirograph type, the lines and the circles, and think of it as tiny little chalk versions of crop circles.
I never thought of that, but that is a good
I have seen some amazing sidewalk art. And here's the best thing. It's chalk.
Yeah, just hose it off.
It's going to rain later. it's gone.
It's pretty harmless. Yeah. I mean, even if you get it on your clothes, I think it comes off. It's, Anyway, the chalk line, our salute of our Tool Talk Radio must-have item of the week. So, and actually, people, I haven't really said this before. If you've got suggestions for something you'd like, a tool that's special in your life that you want us to highlight on the must-have item of the week, send us a message. Go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. That's a good way to get us, right, Alan?
Yeah.
Can they contact us at tooltalkradio.com?
They certainly can. They can just fill out a message and send it on to us. If you go through your Facebook and send us a message there, go ahead and tell us why. Tell us the story of why this tool became your favorite.
Sometimes it's because of what you made with it, or sometimes you got
or
a
the
memory.
problem it solved.
Right. Yeah, you were stumped, and all of a sudden you went to the big box store, bought this
walked
one
in and
tool,
went,
and you're like, whoa, problem solved. So. All right, Alan. Well, that's a hunky-dory, rosy kind of little segment. Now we got to change gears because it's about to get ugly out there. Hurricane Ida is on the way. You've got friends down in Louisiana, right?
They're on their way up.
They're coming up. Alan's gonna be hosting some guests, I guess. But okay, sure. Hurricane Ida. There's obvious ramifications if you live down in Louisiana, but it's going to be affecting the Mid-South as well. So. Well, let's talk about your home.
Yeah, well, as we love to point out, hurricane season, thunderstorm season, as the seasons come and go and change, now's a great time to, again, look at the landscaping around the home. Is the water flowing to the house or away from the house? Do you need to step up your drainage a little bit? And, it could be just something as simple as how you're cutting the yard and the height you're leaving stuff. I mean, it can honestly be that simple.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you get in the habit of constantly blowing the grass towards the foundation, well, you might be creating a big pile.
You could indeed be creating an issue of make sure the fins on your air conditioning unit are nice and clean, and for heaven's sake, make sure those gutters are cleared out.
Well, we're going to talk about, the gutters are a big deal because, the thing with this torrential rain, it's a big difference between having even a week, of off and on rain versus that heavy duty.
Steady, it just won't quit.
Waterfalls off your house type of rain. So there's a few things you definitely want to think about, and let's do it before Hurricane Ida gets
before
here.
we get hit.
Yeah. So we're gonna expand on that a little bit. How to prepare for the blast, basically. So, well, we hope you're having a blast here on Tool Talk Radio. I don't know, is that a segment? I hope that's not insensitive, Alan. But anyway, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna give some more tips about getting ready for the hurricane.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Call Poison Control if you're bit by a spider, but check that it's covered by your healthcare provider.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Geeky Side TV, and our pal Maximilian behind the glass, who is really giving us a lot of diverse little rejoinders there, Alan. I mean, we've covered SpongeBob, The Office, Fire Marshal Bill. We're getting it all here. A full range.
Like I says, watching that little red dot, see where it's going to land.
Yeah. If you wanted to call, you can get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline. You can call or text us at 901-683-0989, or shoot us a message at the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and give us a like, and make sure you share Tool Talk with everybody. And of course, if you've missed any of our past episodes, never fear, you can go to tooltalkradio.com and can they download them? They can listen.
They can download and binge.
Send us messages, everything. By the way, Alan, I've been a little bit remiss today. Lumber prices, we've been trying to keep everybody steady, up to date on that. Lumber prices continue to level out, let's say. I'm not going to say just plummet, because what we're looking at here is lumber prices getting back to normal, basically. They're
easing back into
right. So we're not talking about the collapse of the lumber market, people. We're just saying it was way out of control for 2020 and everything else. So we're finally starting to get, and you can get the lumber, which is great, because I've been building my patio covers, my decks, things like that, and I'm not having the trouble getting them. I'm not getting these calls where it's like, well, it's a 3-week just to get delivered, and it's 10-week wait for this product or that or something. So it's good. And by the way, let me remind everybody, Alan, if you do need a deck or a pergola or a patio cover or a fence or really anything made out of wood for the outside of your home, give me a call at 901-921-7105, or you can visit my very easy to remember website, thorshomes.com. Make sure it's plural. And of course, if you're a contractor out there, you think you've got what it takes to join the Tool Talk Radio team, we've got some great people. We got our buddy Larry Brown, we got Mike Serafolian, Rick Bowman, Kelly Cruz, we've got Jay Hill. We've got some pretty good people, authorities in their respective fields. We're looking for more, though. So if you want to get in touch with me directly, just we'd love to bring you on board. It's 901-921-7105. One more reminder, Alan, I just want to update everybody. September 10th, boy, am I excited. I'm going to I mentioned it last week, but I'm going to be doing a field report. It's going to be a field report for Tool Talk Radio. I'm visiting Club 400. That is that ultimate Cubs man cave. I'm going to get to meet the one of the Cubs just premier. Well, he was a former pitcher for the Cubs, Ryan Dempster, who's hilarious. He's going to be at the party. But I'm going to be doing behind-the-scenes things, Alan. I'm going to be looking at stuff nobody else is looking at because this is the ultimate. It's a 2,300-square-foot man cave dedicated to the Chicago Cubs. Well, there's things like you got to consider air quality. You got to consider the electrical needs. You got to consider the lighting sources.
Oh, yeah.
You got to consider the plumbing to have 200 people hanging out in your basement. Well, I'm going to be looking at the guts of what makes Club 400 work, as well as, partying with the Cubs fans. So look for an interesting report when I come back, Alan.
No, right. That means Brandon and I will be doing Tool Talk.
Yeah. So stand by. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, but Alan, before the break, this isn't fun, but it's important. We were talking about, of course, everybody in Louisiana, and I guess people along the Gulf Coast, they at this point know how to prepare for a hurricane, but I feel like it's worth mentioning, especially for newer homeowners, that when there's a huge difference when, like we said, you're getting a few days or a week or so of steady rain that's off and on versus that torrential rain that's just it's just pounding the house. Even if it's only for an hour, it's a whole different dynamic, that level of water, and you better make sure everything's ready. You mentioned cleaning out the gutters, which is
we had one storm last summer that was dropping 10 inches of rain per hour.
I mean, that is nuts.
That was right here in Memphis. That wasn't associated with a hurricane or anything. This was just a random thunderstorm came through, and it was pretty much being, it was like a natural fire hose.
Sure.
It rained so hard.
Right.
And here's the big thing. When you do have a massive hit like that, walk around your house and take a look at your windows, your seals, and if the really big hit exposes a weakness, now you're not going to fix it then, but mark it down and go, okay, bedroom window, left side of the house.
Right.
We need to look at the caulk and everything on that. Once it dries out, we can get back outside.
Well,
so that's a great way of just keeping up with future potential problems.
Well, and also what else I thought of with that, Alan, is because you've always talked about these. When you're talking about roof leaks, a lot of people, my house included, we have these valleys where two parts of a roof intersect. You get kind of that 45-degree angle. And if you live here in the Mid-South, a lot of people have trees. And you can get leaves or branches or debris that's sitting there. And it may not be that much. It might just be a little pile of leaves here in the corner, which is it doesn't do much until that rain shows up, because now suddenly you created like a dam and it's got to go
a pond
somewhere
on your house.
And so, man, make sure you don't have any debris on your roof, especially with Hurricane Ida coming at us. So.
Well, and the thing is, we're talking like, is the hurricane actually going to make it to Memphis? Absolutely not. But what you're going to get is some of the rain bands, possibly, a change in your weather due to how that comes in.
Right.
Now, what's going to more than likely happen is the tropical depression part of it, the storm part of it, is going to come ashore. And it's going to come up the Mississippi River a little bit, and then it's probably going to swing off to the right. So for those of you that are fans down in Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, going across towards Atlanta, Chattanooga, expect to see some enthusiastic weather. It may not be
a fun way to put it. Yeah.
It may not be a Category 4 hurricane when it gets to you. It may be a 25-mile-an-hour thunderstorm, but it's going to be a big one. You're going to get a lot of water.
Well, and Allan, you touched on this earlier, but we also don't want to get out of here before we also remind people. Okay, we're looking at the roof and what to do to make sure you don't have water coming in from above. Well, you better make sure things are cleared out below too. If you've got drainage, if you've got your drains coming off of the gutters, if you've got any area where, like you said, some mulch could be piled in a way where water is going to start going towards your house rather than away from it, or into your front door. I mean, hey, you don't know. So.
Well, it's one of these kind of funny things. Every one of these storms is an opportunity. So that, as soon as it quits raining, I'm not going to advocate anybody go out and play in a storm, but as soon as it quits raining and it's safe to go outside, go take a walk around your property real quick and take a quick look.
Yeah.
Are there any limbs broken off in the trees that may need to be removed? Those are called widow makers for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want a big old limb accidentally crashing down out of a tree, while the dogs are in the backyard. You don't want to take that kind of chance.
Oh yeah, and I don't want to. I don't want to sound insulting or patronizing, or I feel like it's insulting to even give this advice, Allan. But I'm giving it because when I was a kid, I was guilty of this. But when it rains like this, well, some of that water that because as soon as the rain's over, when I was a kid, in fact, even when it was raining, we wanted to run out there because suddenly your backyard has this huge puddle that it didn't have before. Well, some of that water may be intermixed with sewer water. Right, Allan? It's not necessarily the best thing to let your kids play in.
Well, the big thing these days is, of course, yard chemicals and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Did something get spilled in it? Does somebody have a oil leak under their car or that kind of thing?
Did Fido go to the bathroom? And
Fido's probably been to the bathroom a few times back there.
Right.
You kind of need to leave stormwater alone.
I'm just saying it does look. I remember specifically, Allan. It was I'm a kid. You build a little sailboat or a raft or something. You're floating it around back there, and who knows what kind of water that actually was. So it's like. Just
if it's anything in question, don't play in it is the idea.
Yeah, but better to get up there now. This weekend is the time to do it. Just make sure.
Well, today is the time to do it.
Is it? When is it? When are we going to see?
It's supposed to make landfall, I believe, sometime in the next 24 hours. So it'll come in down and through Louisiana. So guys, everybody down there, please listen to your emergency authorities and do what they tell you to do. Be prepared. Once it comes ashore, then we'll figure out which direction it's actually going to go. But right now, it's kind of predicted to come about halfway up Mississippi, and then it will either continue to peter out and become thunderstorms coming towards Memphis, or it's going to hang a right and wander across the country.
Okay. And actually, one other tip, Allan, since we've covered the top of the house, the bottom of the house. The middle, you were talking about windows and doors. A lot of the trim around your windows, it expands and contracts. This is a very good time to run to your big box store, get a few tubes of, since time is of the essence, get the quick 1 hour drying, the quick dry caulk.
Oh, yeah.
Latex caulk. Walk around your house, and if you've got any gaps that look vulnerable, especially the ones near the bottom of your windows, fill those babies in. Even if you don't get a chance to paint them, right now, at least get them caulked up, and that'll help protect it as well. So, I feel like we've done our due diligence here. We want to keep everybody.
We did our PSA for this, so it's like, be safe, everybody, be safe.
And if you've got any tips, or any, because let's face it, Allan, we're lucky we don't deal with the hurricane aspect of it. But if you've got any stories or any ideas about that. How to handle a hurricane or the remnants of a hurricane, get in touch with us at tooltalkradio.com or our Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. But Allan, I'm going to be keeping an eye out. I feel like, boy, we've learned a lot today. This Waddles the Duck story has got me thinking about the way 3D printing is going to be. It's really just going to be changing the way we live very soon. So, and
well, it's
the implications of some of this technology is
well, when technology makes those shifts, it's kind of like the invention of latex paint. It wasn't anything anybody really noticed at first. Just suddenly it was a new kind of paint on the market. But then, over the years and over time, it may completely overtake the previous technologies.
Absolutely, and I'm making a commitment here, Alan. I've missed out on I can't remember. I think I missed out on investing in Amazon. I missed out on investing. I think I'm getting ready to. I'm going to dive deep. I'm going to start investing in 3D printing. Because I'm going to put $100 in, and in 5 years I'll be a billionaire. I don't know, man.
Sounds good to me. I'm
financial
not going to argue
advice.
with you.
We even do the financial advice here at Tool Talk Radio. But Alan, I think we've done our duty, and time waits for no man. So I think the clock is telling us it's time to get out of here. So you've been listening to another action-packed, diverse, and probably a little weird episode of Tool Talk Radio. On behalf of my buddy Alan Gilbreth, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We'll see you next week.